matrimony is important to the Church. It is the basis for the formation of the Catholic Church and families, and it keeps the Church's tradition going.
The basic definition of marriage is the legal and formal recognized union of a man and woman as partners in a relationship.
The definition of marriage, according to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, is a matrimonial covenant by which a man and woman establish between themselves a partnership of the whole life, is by its nature ordered toward the good of spouses and the procreation and education of offspring. This covenant between baptized persons has been raised by Christ the Lord to the dignity of a sacrament.
Couples vow to be partners for life on the day of their marriage. It is a lifelong covenant that requires a team effort, not just one spouse carrying all the weight. Marriage is the foundation for the family, and in turn, the foundation for the growth of the Catholic Church. St. Thomas Aquinas states, "Since marriage is chiefly directed to the good of the offspring, all use of marriage which is intended for the good of the offspring is in order. Couples shall accept children lovingly from God and have the responsibility of raising their children Catholic." Faith information begins in the home when the couple has their children baptized, educate their children about the Catholic faith, and lead their children by example. This faith formation in the home is referred to as a domestic church. The domestic church is the family.
For such an important lifelong covenant, couples need to adequately prepare. Going through a pre-Cana process through the church is an important step for getting married. It gives the couple time to really think this through. Is this person right for me? Can I spend every day for the rest of my life as a team with this person? Is our love mutual? Can we both keep our promises? Are we willing to make the sacrifices that come along with being married? Are we ready for our responsibilities to each other, to the church, and to our children? These are all important questions that engaged couples should ask themselves before going through with the sacrament of marriage. Couples need support from each other, support from their families, support from the church when preparing for the sacrament of marriage. It is a huge commitment. Hello, Monsignor Doyle.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'm going to be asking you some questions about the sacrament of matrimony.
And I'll try to answer them, but just remember that eventually it always depends upon the two people who get married. So therefore, their knowledge of each other beforehand is very important. And very often when marriages break up, it's because two people just enter into a marriage very quickly without any preparation. So they need preparation, they need time to get to know each other. And that is really, if they get to know each other, if they know who they're marrying, and if they really have love for each other, then there's a good chance of the marriage lasting. So you asked what makes a marriage work. What makes a marriage work is love, of course. And if the two people have that love for each other, then they have to think about their growth in love. And as they grow together, as they get to know each other, their love grows and helps them to make a happy marriage.
And in your experience, what makes a holy and happy marriage?
Now, you brought in the word holy, and you're a Catholic.
Yes.
So I presume you're talking about a Catholic marriage.
A Catholic marriage, yes.
A Catholic marriage. If the two people are Catholic, the important thing is for them to be practicing their own faith, and that will help a lot. If they're coming to church together every Sunday, if they believe in their God, if they believe in what the church asks of marriage, which is that they grow together in love and that they have a family. All of that, those are the things that help two young people to get to know each other better, to have the same faith and to grow in that faith. It's not always necessary, and it can happen where there is a difference in religion where there can be a very happy marriage too. But when you ask for a happy and holy marriage, I think if both are Catholic, then that is a great benefit for them.
Why is the sacrament of matrimony important to the church?
The sacrament is important because every sacrament is there to give help. We don't know when the sacrament was actually instituted. Jesus went to the marriage feast at Cana and he blessed the young couple at Cana. But there is no time where it tells us exactly that it became a sacrament. But we know that God always wants to give us help in every way. And this is such an important area in our lives, marriage. Christian marriage is for us. We believe that it is the essence of society, the first unit of society itself, the family and marriage. So therefore we believe that Jesus gave us this institution of marriage. And like any sacrament, every sacrament that we receive gives us a special inherent help. We get it in baptism, in Holy Communion, and penance. We also get it in marriage. When the two people are blessed in marriage, that blessing is asking God to be with them, is asking Jesus to live with them and to make the family a home. So that's why we believe that it is something essential and something holy.
And what do you have to say about the domestic church, the church within the home?
The little church. Yeah, well, that's when a family is truly a family. You have grown up in a Catholic family yourself.
Yes.
And you know what it was like to grow up in a Catholic family.
Yes.
A Catholic family becomes something, if it's really living up to the practice of the faith, if you are going to church, then you are making this little unit truly sacred. And because you're making it truly sacred, you're helping this unit of society to be the best possible unit. And if it is the best possible unit, then you're helping society as well. Not only the little church, as you say, the family becomes a little church. Because it becomes a little church, it becomes sanctified and holy, and obviously the members of the family are united as a unit, as a family, but they are also united in the good things of God, in the commandments of God. The first commandment, of course, is love. There is the love of husband and wife for each other, and then there is the love of the parents for their children, and in return of children for the parents. So if it is a true family like that Christ talked about and Christ wanted, then it's going to be a great help to society, and so necessary.
In biblical times in Israel, marriages were viewed and arranged as part of civil law. The process of matrimony took days, while the engagement or betrothal can take 6 months to a year. The church serves couples up for marriage through the Pre-Cana program. Couples were betrothed in biblical times. The woman is given a gold ring during this time, and the bridegroom would repeat, "By this ring thou art set apart unto me, according to the law of Moses and of Israel." Huppah, meaning canopy or covering, is described as the house of the bridegroom, where the couple meets to begin the ceremony. After meeting at the huppah, the couple would then continue into a room where the bride would remove her veil, symbolizing the couple becoming one in their marriage covenant with God. Later, they will reveal a bloodstained garment out of the widow for the people to see that she has been a virgin.
Jesus viewed matrimony as a sacred covenant between man and woman, that the two will become one flesh. He viewed matrimony as part of God's plan for humans. God's love is present through this covenant between a man and a woman, and this covenant should not be broken. Jesus was asked by religious law keepers if couples could divorce. Jesus answered this question in Matthew chapter 19, verses 1 through 12. There came a time where Jesus went to the country of Galilee and was questioned by religious law keepers about marriage. They asked, "Does the law say a man can divorce his wife for any reason?" Jesus responded, "Have you not read that he who made them in the first place made them man and woman? It says that for this reason a man will leave his father and his mother and will live with his wife. So they
are no longer two but one. Let no man divide what God put together. Unlike the view of marriage in biblical times as just a law, Jesus viewed marriage as a covenant that God put together. Jesus thought marriage was important. The significance of the wedding of Cana is that Jesus performed his first miracle at a wedding celebration. He changed the water into wine.
And once a couple is married, how can they keep their marriage? How can they make it work? How can they keep it working?
I remember asking a couple one time, and they had been married for 50 years. And what they said to me when I asked them, I said, you have been married and you're obviously happy together. I said, was it easy? And they said, no, it's something you have to work at. They said, we have worked at this for the last 50 years. And because we worked at it, we made it a happy marriage. They said there were many times when there were great difficulties and black moments and tough moments. But we remembered that God is with us also in the tough moments. It's a journey to God. And on that journey there are going to be moments of darkness and moments of light. You don't give up the first moment. You have to keep working at it. And thank God today there are all kinds of help from the church. There are people in the church who are well trained to be able to assist people in their marriage. So if there are difficulties, don't give up. Just go to the people who can help you.
According to the Vatican archives, in the Latin Rite, the celebration of marriage between two Catholic faithful normally takes place during Holy Mass, because of the connection of all the sacraments with the Paschal mystery of Christ. In the Eucharist, the memorial of the new covenant is realized, the new covenant in which Christ has united himself forever to be the Church, his beloved bride for whom he gave himself up. It is therefore fitting that the spouses should seal their consent to give themselves to each other through the offering of their own lives by uniting it to the offering of Christ for his Church made present in the Eucharist sacrifice, and by receiving the Eucharist so that communicating in the same body, in the same blood of Christ, they may form but one body in Christ. If holy matrimony is given during a Mass, the Mass is referred to as the nuptial Mass.
When one finds a worthy wife, her value is far beyond pearls. Her husband, entrusting his heart to her, has an unfailing prize. She brings him good and not evil all the days of her life. Proverbs chapter 31, verses 10 through 13. By the unity of marriage, a man can only have one wife, and a woman can only have one husband. The joining together forms the unity of two in one flesh, not many in one flesh. The sacrament of marriage in the Catholic Church is opposed to polygamy, many wives, and polygyny, many husbands. Since Christ's time, monogamy must be the rule.
The first roots of the sacrament of marriage come from the Genesis story of Adam and Eve. God cast a deep sleep over Adam, took one of his rib bones, and created Eve. That is why it is called a woman, because she came from man, and the two together become one body, one flesh. God is the author of marriage. He intends for it to be a holy union and covenant between a man and a woman. Although marriage was not a sacrament at the time, God was present in this covenant. He is present in the sacrament of marriage today.
Matrimonial consent is entering into the sacrament of marriage for life out of free will. Matrimonial consent consists of freedom, fidelity, and openness to new life. Baptized man and woman are free to enter into marriage and freely give themselves to one another. Couples must be willing to establish a personal and intimate relationship with one another. This relationship is a reflection of God's love and God's covenant. Couples shall have the intention of procreation and education of children. Father's Doyle advice to couples who are thinking about getting married.
Be prepared for it. Know that it is for life and not for a few years. If you think of getting married for a few years, then it's going to fail anyhow. So it's getting two people saying, I love you. If you love me, do you love me for life? Not for the next 2 years. So that is the important thing, I think, in marriage. To remember, it's a lifelong, it's giving. And it's giving not just 50%, it's giving 100%. Each person is giving 100% to the other.